I lost $524,000 in less than 24 hours because my Aunt Marcus slipped a forged property transfer into my grandmother's estate portfolio. Burner account, family identifies, and the amounts are accurate to the last comma. I'm Tyler, age 34, a certified property appraiser working out of Columbus, Ohio. Before we dive into how I completely dismantled her entire life, please hit the like button and subscribe for more daily family drama. My grandmother, Lorraine, was a powerhouse of a woman who built a successful dry cleaner chain from absolute scratch. She started with a single storefront in 1974, working 16-hour days while raising my mother and my Aunt Marcus. By the time I was old enough to understand the business, that single storefront had expanded into 4 highly profitable locations across the metro area. Along with the business, Lorraine had the foresight to buy the actual commercial real estate each laundromat sat on, which meant the real value of her estate was locked up in prime, paid-off property equity. My mother was the quiet, hard-working sibling who stayed by Lorraine's side, managing the books and keeping the equipment running for 30 years. Aunt Marcus, on the other hand, was the classic golden child who viewed the family business as her personal trust fund. Marcus moved away to a wealthy suburb, married a man who fancied himself a high-stakes day trader, and only showed up when she needed a cash infusion. Growing up, the dynamic was completely suffocating. My mother and I were the scapegoats who did all the heavy lifting, while Marcus was celebrated just for breathing. Whenever Marcus visited, she would lounge in the main office, wearing expensive Michael Kors sunglasses, talking loudly about her upcoming vacations to Aspen or Maui. Meanwhile, my mother was in the back, breathing in chemical fumes and dealing with broken conveyor belts. Lorraine completely blinded herself to Marcus's entitlement. If Marcus needed $15,000 for a country club membership or a down payment on a new luxury SUV, Lorraine would write the check from the corporate account, calling it an advance on her future inheritance. My mother never complained because she genuinely loved her family and loved the work. I, however, grew up with a deep, burning resentment for how Marcus exploited everyone around her. The real escalation began 5 years ago when Lorraine's health started to decline. As the matriarch slowed down, she gave my mother and me more operational control over the dry cleaner chain. I used my background in property appraisal to streamline our locations, renegotiate vendor contracts, and maximize the value of the real estate holdings. Marcus saw this increased responsibility as a direct threat to her lifestyle. She started showing up at the main office unannounced, demanding to see the financial ledgers. She would sit in her expensive clothes, tapping her manicured nails on the desk, accusing my mother of hiding profits. During one particularly tense family dinner at a high-end local steakhouse, Marcus openly mocked my mother's salary. She raised her glass of white wine and told the entire table that without her creative vision, the business would stall out. She then demanded that Lorraine sign over a primary piece of commercial real estate valued at $524,000 to her immediately, claiming she needed the collateral for a new boutique clothing venture. Lorraine, thankfully, still had enough sharp business sense left to refuse. She told Marcus that the properties would remain tied to the business until she passed, at which point everything would be split exactly 50-50 between the two sisters. Marcus threw an absolute tantrum, slamming her designer purse onto the table and storming out of the restaurant. That was the moment I knew Marcus would stop at nothing to get her hands on that equity. Over the next 2 years, Marcus completely changed her strategy. She became aggressively helpful, constantly volunteering to take Lorraine to her medical appointments and estate planning meetings. My mother was relieved, thinking Marcus was finally stepping up as a daughter. I remained incredibly suspicious. I noticed Marcus was always volunteering to handle Lorraine's mail and legal correspondence. While Marcus was busy playing the devoted daughter, I was quietly building my own career and securing my financial independence. I worked my regular hours at the appraiser firm, but I also started a small real estate consulting LLC on the side. I specialized in commercial property valuations and zoning laws. Because my family still viewed me as the quiet, reliable kid who just helped out with the dry cleaner machines, they had absolutely no idea how successful my side business had become. I was quietly pulling in an extra $95,000 a year, which I kept entirely separate from any family accounts. I bought my own home, invested heavily in index funds, and watched Marcus's financial situation decay from afar. Her husband's day trading had gone completely belly up, and they were desperately trying to maintain their wealthy suburban lifestyle on a mountain of credit card debt. I would see Marcus at Trader Joe's, loading her cart with gourmet items, while her credit card was declined twice before she finally found one that worked. The trigger event happened on a crisp Tuesday morning in October, exactly 3 weeks after my grandmother Lorraine peacefully passed away. Instead of waiting for a formal probate process, Marcus sent a group text to the entire family demanding an immediate meeting at the main dry cleaner location. When my mother and I arrived, Marcus was already sitting in Lorraine's old office chair, looking completely smug. She didn't offer a single word of comfort about our loss. Instead, she slid a manila folder across the desk. Inside was a document titled Property Transfer Agreement and Quitclaim Deed. According to the paperwork, Lorraine had allegedly signed over the entire commercial real estate lot of our highest producing location directly to Marcus for the sum of exactly $10. The document was dated just 4 months prior to Lorraine's passing, right around the time Marcus was aggressively driving her to appointments. I picked up the document and examined it closely. The signature at the bottom looked incredibly shaky, but it undeniably resembled Lorraine's handwriting. Marcus leaned back in the chair, crossed her legs, and told my mother that she was now the sole landlord of the building. She announced that if the dry cleaner chain wanted to continue operating out of that location, we would have to pay her a monthly rent of $6,500, effective immediately. My mother burst into tears right there in the office, completely shattered by her sister's cruelty. The loss of that single property equity meant the business would barely break even, effectively destroying my mother's financial future. Marcus looked at me with a cold, triumphant smile and said that life simply isn't fair, and we needed to accept that Lorraine loved her more. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I simply took a deep breath, took a photo of the document with my phone, and told Marcus we would review everything. My professional background as a property appraiser meant I knew exactly how deeds and land titles were registered, and something about the notary stamp on that document felt incredibly off. I quietly went to work. I did not hire a lawyer to fight a lengthy, expensive probate battle that would drain the remaining business accounts. Instead, I executed my own proactive strategy. I went directly to the county recorder's office and pulled the historical title chain for the property. I also used my professional credentials to look up the specific notary public who had stamped Marcus's document. The notary listed was a young woman who worked at a shipping and mailing store 3 blocks away from Marcus's house. I drove down to the store myself, paid for a small shipping envelope, and struck up a casual conversation with the clerk behind the counter. Within 20 minutes, I discovered that the notary listed on the document had actually left the company 6 months before the date stamped on the deed. Her notary seal had been reported lost or stolen to the Secretary of State's office. Marcus had somehow gotten her hands on an old, invalid notary stamp and used it to fabricate the entire transfer. To solidify my case, I visited the bank where Lorraine kept her secure safe deposit box. Because I had been added as a cosigner on that box years ago to help Lorraine with her corporate documents, the manager escorted me into the vault without hesitation. Inside the metal box, wrapped in a simple rubber band, was the absolute holy grail. It was Lorraine's original, certified estate plan, along with a handwritten codicil dated just 2 weeks before her passing. A codicil is a legal amendment to a will. In this document, which was properly witnessed by 2 independent bank employees and fully notarized by the bank's internal legal staff, Lorraine explicitly stated that all commercial real estate properties were to be placed into an LLC owned equally by my mother and myself. The document specifically mentioned that Marcus had already received over $180,000 in personal cash advances during Lorraine's lifetime, which constituted her full and final share of the inheritance. Lorraine had realized exactly what Marcus was trying to do during those car rides and had quietly protected her life's work. I didn't immediately call the police, and I didn't confront Marcus over the phone. I waited for her scheduled arrival at the main office the following Monday, when she was supposed to collect her first $6,500 rent check. She walked into the building wearing a brand new pastel coat, looking like she already owned the entire block. She walked into the office, held out her hand, and asked if the check was ready. My mother was sitting in the corner, looking pale and anxious. I stepped forward, holding a thick legal binder. I didn't say a word. I just opened the binder and laid out 3 specific items in front of her. First, the certified fraud report from the Secretary of State showing that the notary stamp she used was completely invalid and illegal. Second, the certified copy of the real deed and the bank-verified codicil that cut her out of the real estate entirely. Third, a pre-written corporate confession and a quitclaim waiver that completely surrendered any and all future claims to the dry cleaner business or its properties. Marcus's face went from smug satisfaction to a pale, ghostly white in a matter of seconds. She stammered, trying to claim that Lorraine must have confused the dates, but her voice completely lacked its usual venom. I looked her dead in the eye and told her very calmly that she had exactly 10 minutes to sign the total waiver of inheritance. I explained that if she signed it, I would simply file the real deed with the probate court and let her walk away into her own mounting debts. If she refused, I would walk directly across the street to the county prosecutor's office with the evidence of felony grand theft and deed forgery. I reminded her that deed fraud carries a mandatory prison sentence in our state, and her husband's day trading wouldn't be able to bail her out this time. She looked at the documents, her hands shaking so badly she could barely hold the pen, and signed her name to the waiver. The absolute satisfaction of watching her power completely evaporate in a single moment was worth every single hour of quiet investigation. Marcus left the office without saying a single word to either of us. She drove away in her luxury SUV, knowing that her financial safety net was completely gone. The real estate was successfully placed into the corporate LLC, securing my mother's retirement and ensuring that the $524,000 in property equity remained exactly where it belonged, with the people who actually built the business. My mother still runs the main location, but now she does it with a massive smile on her face, knowing she is completely free from her sister's toxic greed. As for Marcus, she ended up having to downsize her home and take a regular, low-paying job to cover her debts, a fitting end for someone who tried to steal a lifetime of hard work. It is amazing how fast a golden child deflates when they are staring down an actual legal reality check. If you want to hear how another relative tried to use a fake medical bill to drain a $300,000 retirement portfolio, check out the next story.